Warning. This podcast contains spoilers for the movie
Marianne.
What was that? Did you hear that?
Where is my toe?
I swear I heard something. Must be nothing. The wind. Oh well, back at it then. Scary stories to tell in the dark.
Me, Tai, Do, T, Walker.
Wait a minute, aren't we mixing our metaphors here?
Me, Tai, Do, T, Walker.
No! Welcome to Marianne's Macabre Review. Alrighty, folks, welcome out to Marianne's Macabre Review. We have a special. All these people
We're
are
all
Aren't we
special.
all
Yeah, we're all
Every-
special. Come on.
Everyone's special. Well, there's no Keith today, so it's special in
Boo.
that way.
It's
Yeah.
So,
special that there's no key.
yes. He's our co-host is very rarely not on, but he is currently finishing an Audible book that you will be able to find middle of September. Look for Black Choir Boys on Audible or on Amazon if you just want to do a search for J. Keith Jackson. You'll find all the books that he has been the voice actor for. But we are here for scary stories to tell in the dark. And we have Dave,
Hello.
Emily,
Hi.
and Mike.
Woo!
And I'm Marianne. And we are going to talk about it. So, who read the books when they were little?
Over and
I
over and
remember.
over again.
Yes.
I read the books and I had the cassettes too.
Oh, yeah, the cassettes.
Wow.
Ooh, yeah, I just had the books. And I love looking at the pictures. I would check it out of the library whenever I could. My mom would not let me buy the books because it was she thought I'd be too scared by it, even though I read them all the time.
Were you too scared?
No, obviously. I'm doing a
Not Marianne.
horror podcast now, so
Yeah, she
obviously
loved them.
I do have stories about how I probably came to like horror. I think scary stories to tell in the dark is exactly where that came from, or close to it. So, who wants to give a synopsis? You've seen it twice. You've seen it twice, Emily?
I've seen it twice. I could give it a shot, I guess. Really, I mean, it's helpful if you do know the stories, but it's this wonderfully woven plot of all the short stories from the book, but it centers around, I already forget her name.
We should have IMDb up. Let's
We
do
should
that.
have it up. Hello, Internet. How are you today?
Yep.
But she has a troubled past once we come up with her name. And she's got these two best friends, and they're in high school, I believe?
Stella.
Middle school? No, Stella, that's it.
Mhm.
I should have remembered
They're
that.
younger.
They're younger.
They're like teenagers. Maybe.
Yeah.
Teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place in the 1960s.
60s? Yeah, I think 60s.
Yeah.
1960s. Mm-hmm.
And they are a group of friends, and they stumble upon this haunted house. Shortly before that, they meet a new friend,
Ramon.
at the drive-in, who
While
kinda,
escaping a bully, right?
yes,
Yep. Yeah.
like they're being chased down by
The town bully. Like
The town
any,
bully.
like it could almost have been out of a Stephen King film because
Mm-hmm.
there were bullies that were insufferable in this.
Mm-hmm.
yes, and so then at that point, the four of them, to escape the town bully, stumble upon this haunted house. They stumble in, and it's the lair of
Sarah Bellows?
Sarah
Bellows.
Yes.
Good memory.
And
And for some godforsaken reason, shenanigans happen because she says Sarah Bellows, tell me a story. And I'm like, and then she's like, I feel like I'm the cause of this. I'm like, you are!
Yeah.
You are the cause of this!
Well, she stole the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she stole the book too.
She steals the book that writes itself and writes
Yeah.
them all here in the house into the stories that are some of the more well-known stories from the series.
Yes.
And after she steals the book, crazy things start happening, and the stories start writing themselves in blood. And then they start realizing that
A kid disappears after every story.
yeah, that the names in the stories are connected to people they know.
Yeah.
So, let's start with general thoughts. Dave, what'd you think of it?
I liked it. The thing I liked most about it was the setting and the way the monsters, I guess you'd call them, looked. I thought they looked great. I thought the atmosphere and setting was great. After that, I thought it was a average horror movie, I guess. It wasn't,
Horror movie for kids.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
yeah.
It was a perfectly
Yeah, this is
acceptable
PG-13.
PG-13 horror movie.
Yep.
But I loved the setting and the way everything looked. I thought it was great. But you would expect that from something produced by Del Toro. So
Yeah. I feel like this goes on, a clock with a D-clock with the house with a clock with a whatever the heck name it is. The other one from earlier and Goosebumps. They all kind of had the same feel to it. Let's see. Emily, you want to go next?
Sure. I really liked it the first viewing, but like the second viewing, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that was a really good movie. Like the first time I watched it, it was entertaining. I'm with you with the visuals and just kind of the monsters and the whole atmosphere that was created, the town. I was on board with the actors too. I think they did a great job.
All the
fine.
actors were really good. I thought Stella was absolutely stunning.
She was great.
She was so beautiful.
Like the kid who played Chuck. My favorite.
He was funny.
yeah.
He was really
Yeah.
funny.
He was just like, fuck. Bad shit is going to keep happening.
Yeah.
It felt really natural and nothing felt really forced. It felt I don't know. I thought it was like a all around good movie.
Mike.
Yeah, I dug it a lot. I do have to say that, harkening back to what you were saying, Marianne, I think it's actually really dissimilar from more modern, like, scary movies geared towards kids, and has much more in common with, like, some of the older, like, 80s, 70s, and 80s horror kids movies, like, Something Wicked This Way Comes, or The Gate, or
Oh my gosh,
stuff
I love
like that.
something
So
like
it
that.
was definitely a lot more on the darker, more like grotesque, gross out side than I think a lot of the stuff has been the last like probably 20 years or so.
I think you're right. I think when I was talking about whatever movie it's called with the long title,
House of the Clock and Its Walls.
yes, I mean that's not really. It was aimed at horror but missed its mark. I think if they had gone full on with that one, maybe they could have come up with something a little bit more like Scary Stories and Goosebumps. I mean, they're all going for that PG rating, so they don't have any gore other than grossness in it.
Yeah.
I feel like I really like the Something Wicked This Way Comes. I do kind of get the same feel from it.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
It's definitely a lot darker, and it pretty much delves straight, head on with death, and a lot
But they're
more,
missing. They're gonna go find them.
a lot more grim though. I mean, there is. I mean, and there is some like. I mean, definitely some grotesque scenes, and there's some reasonable amount of just straight up violence too that takes place in it.
Yeah.
I like that it was not CGI heavy. It was very practical effect heavy, and they just kind of they polished things up with CGI a little bit. But all the creatures and stuff were, for the most part, they were actually people who were all just dressed up in makeup.
That was super cool. I liked the scarecrow and the woman,
and the pale faced lady.
Yeah,
the pale face. Oh my
which
gosh,
haunted my dreams as a
what
child.
Yes, that was the one I remembered the most.
Yeah, she terrified me.
And
as
I
a
was
child.
just like, this is absolutely.
And she was appropriately creepy and
creepy.
Yeah.
dooky.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, how are they going to do that? And then when I saw the previews and the promo shots for it, I was like, holy shit, they did it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of scared already.
Yeah.
They did.
Like-
I feel like they did the stories. I feel like they did them justice pretty well.
Do you remember the names of the stories for them?
Yeah.
Okay,
He
so
does.
the one was the missing toe one.
So the big toe.
The big toe.
Well, there's Harold, Scarecrow.
Harold the
We got the
Scarecrow.
big toe.
Mhm.
And
We got
then
the red spot.
yeah,
Oh, that
the
was
red
her
spot.
giant pimple
Yeah.
lady.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I remember that one. And then finding all, and then
The dream is the pale face lady.
yeah,
Yep.
And then
red
Nitai
toe.
Doty Walker.
Nitai Doty
Nitai Do-
Walker.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
that was
other
the what Jangly Man was
the
that?
Jangly
Yeah.
Man. And they had the haunted house was another one too, and that was the overarching one that they had, the haunted house.
Yeah.
And then they made reference to something like the Wendigo was made reference to.
Yeah.
Once he disappeared earlier, which I would kind of like to see that one.
I would have
fleshed out
liked
a
to
little
see
more.
that one. Yeah,
Well, I mean, there
might be a
Yeah,
second
yeah,
one.
yeah. They
Left it
they were
open.
definitely
Yeah,
looking like they at least want to do.
which
Yeah.
I like that, and I mean, everybody. I mean, they had a solid. I mean, Del Toro producing, and then Andre Overdahl directing, and
Yeah.
did the Autopsy of Jane Doe and Troll Hunter.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was going on with decent expectations, and I think they put it together well. Though. I mean, it could have just been like we're just gonna throw a bunch of random creatures from the stories in.
Yeah,
like,
they could
run
have done it
amok
so
type thing.
poorly.
Yeah.
Like the Goosebumps
Yeah,
books.
but I mean, considering they were trying to make a cohesive movie out of like a bunch of like one-page urban legend
One-off,
retells, like,
yep.
I think they did a pretty good job. And
Sure.
the second time, I was kind of worried. The second time viewing it too, that I was like, I wasn't confident it was going to hold up as well. And I do actually think I enjoyed it a little more the second time too.
No,
Okay.
is this the one that you saw in a drive-in?
We actually saw the
movie?
drive-in, and it was actually like lightning all around us too.
Oh,
so it was,
that's
like,
cool.
It was
That-
real atmospheric.
Added,
Yeah.
And it was
added
great because
ambiance.
there's the drive-in scene in the movie too. It's like this
Yeah,
drive-in scene
yeah.
like, in the drive-in, so it's
Yep.
like that whole meta thing going on.
That's
So,
cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
that helped for sure.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
it's still like a solid movie. And what you were saying, the backdrop too, like the whole 1960s, the turmoil of the war, and like
Yeah.
Nixon, and all. Like,
Yep.
I thought that was a really good backdrop for everything that was going on with them. Too.
Yeah, and then I think they tied in like Ramon's brother had died in the war,
Mhm, yeah.
and that's
He
when
was a draft dodger.
yeah, yeah. So
yeah, his whole the time with the jangly man, like,
right, yeah,
you know, taunting him for being a coward.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
The guy that did that, it was amazing. He was
The Jangly Man.
the jangly man, because he was just in a movie. He was in Hellboy also. Hellboy, the most recent Hellboy.
Because they said he's like actually a contortionist, right?
Yes.
So he's really making those creepy movements.
He was Baba Yaga in the most recent Hellboy. There were a few things that was like, if you have your friends telling you to stop eating over the phone, and it says something about a big toe, and I take a giant ass bite
Yeah.
of stew,
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
and then I'm like, what? I'm like, I'll stop eating until I
Right.
figure out if this stew has any toes in it or
Yeah.
not.
must have been really hungry.
Yeah.
He had to have
Yeah.
been.
hungry. Nothing in the
Because
house.
that soup or stew did not look delicious
It
in
didn't
any way.
No,
like
it was cold too.
yeah, like he pulled it out of the refrigerator.
Cold
Come on.
corpse stew.
Yeah, that's great. Oh.
And I,
That was a damn good growth. Like
Yeah.
when the toe was coming out of his mouth, just
Yeah.
so slurpy and
Yeah.
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
The thing that I found improbable was she continued to follow him, even though the toe was on the floor. And I think I remember in the book he ate it, didn't he? Like he actually had swallowed it, and that's why she was still coming after him.
Because she just wanted to find the toe
She
and
wanted her
retrieve
toe
it.
to put it
and-
back on.
Yeah.
maybe yeah.
So this gets into my story that I was going to tell. When I was a little kid, my dad would read me the story of the Taily-Poo, or the Taily-Po, depending on how whoever's retelling you hear it of. And that's where a hunter goes out, shoots an animal. He's starving. All he gets is the tail, and he goes and backs and cooks it and eats it. But then he hears scratching at the door, and he keeps hearing, "I want my Taily-Poo." And it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, and eventually the Taily-Poo gets him and rips him open and eats him.
Oh.
And that was a children's story my
Yeah.
dad read to me when I was a child.
Oh my gosh.
And so That's why I like horror.
Sure. Yeah.
That, I can tie that all back to Dad reading me that story. For a Halloween costume a few years ago, I did the Tale Poe.
Oh.
And I bought the book and gave it to Dad, and he's like, I didn't read that to you, did I? And I was like, yes, you did. He's like, it's too intense for me at 70. What the hell?
Oh boy.
So that's the same story with the big toe, and I felt like she should have been like, oh, here's my big toe. All right, bye.
See ya. Thanks. Thanks for the help.
And the story gets all the way up. And the story, it's one of those like, because I mean, the stories are meant to be like read aloud to people, like the way they're constructed. Like in the book, I know like the end of the big toe is, she's screeching, who has my toe? And eventually it's, you have it! And it's like jumping and stuff. Like, that's the ending. It's like grabbing it. So does that mean? So I guess I mean it kept that part faithful. But, I mean, how was he gonna? I mean, really, how was he gonna sit there eating a toe? Also, in the story, they literally harvested the toe from the garden and took it in. Like that was like part of the. It was intentional too. Taking the toe. Like, I think that would have been a little more far fetched to try to pull that off in the movie. Like, I am gonna eat this toe. That sounds delicious.
It's just delicious.
Yeah. So part of this is that she only went after the people who went into the house. Is that correct?
So only the people who were trapped in the house when Tommy, the bully, trapped them in the house.
Right. So that's why she didn't care if you were a bully or just whoever.
Yeah.
She's coming after you.
I secretly
like The Grudge.
True. It was very much like The Grudge. Maybe The Grudge is copied off of Scary Stories.
That could be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that guy was like read that story when he was a kid, and he's like, I've got an idea. Sarah Bellows, but now stick with me here. You're like, Anyway, so what did we not like about it? I've kind of mentioned a few of my things that I didn't like.
Oh no, I mean it's definitely. I mean, it's got like. I mean, it's got a little bit of that like kitschy young adult thing going on, but that's It's also a movie based on kids books for the PG-13 audience,
right?
So, I mean that's I think that kind of goes with the territory. But I mean, I still think that especially like, and I was reading, I think it was Del Toro was talking about it, about they really wanted it to be like a gateway for younger audiences who have not gotten into the horror thing yet, but wanted to give them something a little more full-bodied to try to like gear them into that. So I mean, when you're going after that audience, you still have to kind of pander to obviously both sides there.
Yeah. For me, I can't really put my finger on what I didn't like about it, but after when I left the theater, I was like, that was fine. It was a fine movie. Like I wasn't overwhelmed by it. You can tell it's geared towards like a younger audience or an older audience like our age who read the books when they were younger. And I never really read the books when I was younger. I mean, I vividly remember all the images from the books, but I didn't read all of the stories. I read a few of them. So just leaving, I couldn't say I didn't hate anything about it, but I didn't, aside from like the setting and visuals and everything, but I didn't love anything about it. There's some, like the gross out stuff, but I was just kind of like, it was a movie. It was a good movie. It was a nice time at the theater. I didn't really know what to expect going into it.
Now, did Angela see this with you?
She did. She liked it.
She liked it?
Yeah. I can give you her ratings now if you want, or you want me to save those for the end?
Well, save it for the end.
Okay,
we gotta hear what Emily. Is there anything that you didn't like in it?
I don't think there is anything I didn't like about it. I thought it was just really well done. I was genuinely afraid when I first saw it.
Really?
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Like there's something about like the PG-13 scary world that I think, like, especially with the Pale Lady, is a lot creepier than jump scares and like
definitely
over the top. Like,
yes,
just like everything kind of closing in and the slow dread of things coming after you, I think is just like
because a lot of several of their kills are very like claustrophobic. Like with the Scarecrow, he's just getting closer and closer, and no matter where you turn, he's right there. Just like with the Pale Lady,
The Pale Lady was one of the ones where I felt the most tense. Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole scene
gonna
was
get away?
There when everything went to the red mode.
Yeah.
That's a very tense scene.
Yeah.
And that kid again, like I
he was really funny.
He was just like, I mean, just pure like terror. Like
Yeah,
you could just
I
like
really-
sense like the dread
Yeah.
coming off of him.
Yeah.
I forgot one of my favorite scenes when the jangly man comes down. The cop's reaction is just
Cop's
like
reaction is
boom, boom, boom,
fantastic.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
Shoot, just
Yes.
shoots it immediately. Just like, yep, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's-
that's smart.
Yeah, it's
what you
me,
should
Ty
do.
Doty Walker. What the shit?
Yeah, yes. Like we were talking about earlier, like we need people to act reasonable. What would you reasonably do in this
Yeah.
Yeah.
situation?
You
If you
shoot
see
that
that,
fucking
you
thing as
shoot
many
it.
times
Yeah,
as you could.
Yes.
yeah.
Another thing I really, and I pointed this out to her the second time around seeing it. So in the book, in the story, in Me, Ty Doty Walker, the dog talks back. Like the dog talks back
Oh.
to the thing, and he saes a bunch of nonsense stuff. And they do that a little bit in the movie, but not quite so bluntly. So like the dog is looking at the fireplace, and it's going, "Rrr, rrr, rrr," and the guy, he's like, what's going on? He's like, "Rrr, rrr," but he doesn't like form the nonsense words like he does in the story, but you can tell it's it's a throwback to that. It's a nod to that.
Cute.
And
Yeah.
I love the fact that they like just nodded to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was probably
Remember?
a little too like over the top bizarro to put in the movie like that,
Yeah.
but it was such a good little like nod back to the original story.
Yeah.
And, I really love that. I thought they did the red spot really well too, which was your
Yeah.
It's like I am arachnophobic.
So
Oh, yeah.
Keith also, and
Yeah.
he squirmed like you wouldn't believe. He was just like, like the whole time. It was very. I mean, he always also is the one that rescues the spiders from the house and takes them out. So
I do that.
he
But he's afraid of them, but he saves
he's
them.
afraid of them, but he saves them because he doesn't want them in the house. Doesn't want to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
But it is if you ever have a chance to be at the house when he is getting rid of a spider, it's the best thing ever. I mean, because when he got rid of one at the house, I like laughed so hard I was crying. I could not catch my breath. He had. I don't know what he thought was going to happen, but sometimes when he shouts, it's like nonsensical sometimes, especially if he's like. I distinctly remember the spider moving it, and it raced out at him because it was hidden under the cat's water bowl, and it raced out at him, and it was a sizable one, and he's like, Jesus fuck. And all I hear is like, he's got a plastic cup, and I hear it's like, ha, ha, ha. So he gets it, puts it under the thing, and he walks out, not just outside, to the street. And he just haphazardly tosses paper and cup like, ah! And then runs back to the house.
It's
He's
great.
just trying to save you from getting the red spot. Too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
braver than I. If a spider's in one room, I'm like, that's your room now.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
I'm
go
done.
over here. You're gonna disappear at some point. I'm not gonna
worry about it. Yeah.
I'm just not gonna worry about it. You're over there. I'm over here. You go in your hidey hole. I go in mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had a red spot incident when I was
Oh,
a child.
no.
When
Oh.
I was very, very deeply entrenched in reading scary stories all the time. My cousins and I and friends, like, we read the scary stories books over and over and over and listened to tapes. And one morning I woke up with a big red spot on my cheek.
Oh no.
Mm.
And I was convinced that a bunch of baby spiders were going to
Sure.
be popping out of my face at some point in time.
Yeah.
And that spot was there for weeks. It was there for
Oh, wow.
a very long time. So probably a spider bite or something. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to school and my after school thing, and like
Yeah.
I was just what I was expecting. Like at any point in time, like
Right.
a bunch of fucking
Babies
spiders are
are
just
gonna
gonna
come out.
burst out of my face.
Yep.
And I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do when that happens, but it's gonna happen
It
Yeah.
at
has
some
to.
point.
We have a friend that she always tells a story. She had the exact same thing happen, but it was right here, and it was a big knot. And she was like, "I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. I don't." And she was teen to 20s age, and she finally went to the doctor, and it had been a spider bite, but it was not eggs. It was just putrefaction in there. So when she opened it up, it was just like of grossness.
Ugh.
She's like, yeah, you had a spider bite, but your body made like a little capsule around it, and it kept
Right.
trying to push it out.
Oh.
But your skin was, there, and so
Oh.
I was just, and she was like, the smell, the everything. I was like, that is almost like the red spot, except there's no baby spiders.
Yeah.
Oh.
So let's get into our ratings. Do you want to give Angela's rating first?
Yes. So her entertainment rating was an 8. She said she was very entertained by the movie all the way through.
Good.
She loved it. And as far as being scary, she said 5. So
Yeah, and for us in the car, let's do a rating of like if we were a teenager or our parents were taking us to this. What would our scare rating be if at that time? So
Mine will
Dave,
probably be the same.
okay, so let's
Adult
see.
Dave, give me your
Adult
rating.
Dave says entertainment value. I'm gonna go with a 6. It was just kind of right down the middle for me. It wasn't bad, wasn't good. It wasn't good enough to be great or bad enough to be great. So it was, it was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. So I give it a 6. As far as terror or scariness, I mean, it wasn't really scary. Just had some that's kind of gross moments.
Yeah.
There's a couple little tense moments here and there with the pale lady and the toe lady. So I would go with like a 4 or so on
So
like
now
scariness.
Kid Dave.
Kid Dave.
What would Kid Dave rate it scariness wise?
Scariness wise, probably about the same.
Really?
I don't think I
You
would.
wouldn't be phased by it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Entertainment. If I was younger, I think I would have liked it a lot more than now.
Adult.
So I would say probably like a 7 or an 8
Okay.
or something. So
Emily.
I must be a kid at heart because I feel like my ratings would be the same across. But entertainment value, I'd say an 8. I loved it. It was just really entertaining and good.
Mm-hmm.
Scary level, I think I'd give it like a 7.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the grand scheme of all movies that scare me, I was really scared, but I think there are degrees higher that the intensity could go.
Yeah.
From.
yeah.
You'll see.
Mike.
I would say an 8 for entertainment. I thought it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought they did a good job with the creepy factor of all the stories really well.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as scare, pretty jaded to things.
Yeah. I mean,
But,
yeah.
I
For
mean,
us,
I would say probably like a good 6 to 6.5 ish, just because they did the creepiness and some of those like claustrophobia scenes, like saying like to good effect.
Tenseness. Yeah.
I love how they did Harold too. Like loved how they did Harold, and
Mm-hmm.
one thing I wanted to touch on too, going back a little bit more too, is I liked how they fleshed out Harold's story a little more, because in the book the ending of that story is just very, very like very slightly hinted at, like what Harold is up to, like as far as like making a new scarecrow, which he basically, I mean, I don't know what the fuck happened to Harold in the movie. Like he just kind of went off.
Like, bye.
Yeah,
You're
went to
gonna
live
go
his own life now.
Yeah.
Harold now.
He's out of the corn patch.
Yeah, he's good to go. But I did like that they kind of fleshed that out more too. But yeah, really liked how they did Harold and Tail Lady, especially in the red spot. Her hysteria, I think, was pretty.
Yes, that was great.
Was pretty spot on. So yeah, just as far as I'd say, like 6.5 ish, something like that.
What do you think about how they left? When they left, they were just like, taking your sister, bye. I thought that was a rather odd, like that she was just in the car with them. I was like, you can't leave town with another guy's just because the other son disappeared. You can't just like abscond with the other one. I mean, she probably is running away with the family because they know they're going to go try and save the brother.
Yeah,
But
they've both been through some traumatic shit, and
Yeah.
they kind of gotta find
yeah.
solace in each other there.
I think I'd like to
At
be
that
the
point.
family that's like that, but she's trying to describe that too. Like, hey, I know I just had 1,000 spiders come out of my face.
Yeah.
And I know my brother is missing, But I'm going to leave with this lady.
Yeah.
who is also who has also had a lot of disasters happen in her life.
What else was she gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finish high school.
At that point.
Yeah. She'd be like, I'm a little crazy enough. I can't go back to school.
Yeah, you have a bunch of spiders bust out of your face when you're in that school.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Birdie.
Yeah, I want to go back to that. Again, remembering things now as we're going. As far as like, hopefully, I am hoping they do another one, continue now, because there's so many more amazing stories. That
Yeah.
But also some of the things that they left hanging, like the whole going out and seeing what transpires with all that, but also Ramon going over to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And like the other, like the different directions that they could take that and pull all that stuff back into. Like, they could really, even dig a little deeper with some like serious storytelling going on.
Yeah.
So,
They get rid of Sarah Bellows because Stella writes her story, correct? That's how.
Yeah.
Isn't that how she, got
right.
her to stop writing the stories?
Well, she was an albino, right? That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
That was the
I think
whole
so.
Thing that they were like, oh
and
my
they kept
gosh.
her down. And they kept her down in that secret room in the house.
Yeah. She's pale, and she found out that the water was bad. That's why everyone.
That's why everyone's dead.
Yeah. Because she was smart.
Yeah.
Albinos can do things. So, what your kid score?
Probably about the same. I imagine. I mean, the books. Some of them in particular scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid. But I mean, we used to, we would read them like on the steps of my family's florist old attic, where we'd find the creepiest fucking places possible for these things, and listen to all of them on tape too. Which the tape, was very
melodramatic,
very done up and spooky, spookiness.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean the movie probably. I mean, I probably would have felt the same way as far as like creepiness about it. Like would have been into it. And,
I think my rating, I'm giving entertainment value 6.5, 7. I enjoyed it. Definitely thought they did a good job of mushing all the things together and having an overarching story with it.
It was surprisingly cohesive.
Yeah, I was expecting I was expecting a jumbled mess because I was like, please don't.
I was afraid of a jumbled mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we got it, I was like, this is actually quite good. I loved Sarah Bellows. I'm a sucker for supernatural ghost stories anyway, and I thought that was the perfect one to tie everything together. I did think she was dumb, and I do think it was her fault.
Well, of course it was.
Because she said she took the book and then did the exact thing. She was just like telling them the story of like, everyone that disappeared was right after they said Sarah Barrows telling me a story, and then she
try to
does
remediate.
she did
take the book back though pretty instantly, and
yeah,
burn it.
Yeah, that doesn't work in horror movies. What's she trying to do?
Who are these middle schoolers? I wouldn't do that now.
Well,
Like,
okay,
yeah, right, yeah.
That was the other thing that our friend Jessica pointed
I
out.
very much would have. That was
She
me.
said she was like, these are middle schoolers. And they all looked like they were like 18.
I thought they were high schoolers.
They might have been. The older sister, the red spot girl, was definitely high school.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were all high schoolers.
But
I thought they were. I thought they were like
young.
14 to 15
Yeah.
types, so like freshman, sophomore,
I was
maybe.
expecting people to look like they do, like the kids in It, not the kids that we got.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ramon can drive too. So
Yeah.
he's
Ramon, when he was drafted.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the one thing I heard from that. Their ages seemed. I expected maybe a little more gangly, a little more awkward, but they were all pretty well put together.
I'm pretty sure they are all actual kid actors too.
They lived it.
Yeah, I don't think they did any of those like 25-year-olds.
Right. Yeah.
15-year-old.
Yeah.
Oof. So I would give it 6.5, 7 for entertainment. Scare factor, I'm going 5. I mean, I was tense. Kid factor, I'd probably do about the same. I told you the story. My dad read me the Tale Poo when I was a small child. So I liked all this stuff. The only kind of things that I would probably not like are like the ones where stuffed animals hurt you and stuff like that. I think I remember one where The little stuffed animal has claws. It might not be a scary story to tell in the dark. It might have been another creepy kids book, but like the animal is coming live at night and like scratching the kid and stuff. And she notices the little monkey. I think it is a monkey doll, and it has their actual little hooks in the stuffed animal, and it is coming to life at night. It's a cursed creature. I'll have to look that up. Anyway,
there were some stories I would have liked to have seen.
Which were the what? What do you remember? What they were?
Yeah, I mean, there were stories that I was not expecting ever to see in them because they were just like some of the really, really off the wall ones that are in the books, like Wait Till Martin Comes, about the creepy talking cats. That one's one of my favorites. The Slithery D, which is one of the other. I mean, I like the incorporation of the Hearst song that they did, and I was kind of hoping for them to incorporate a few more of the songs too, because there are quite a few songs in the books.
Yeah.
So hopefully might get some of that too.
Yeah, Jessica looked up the worms crawling, the worms crawl out, that one, and she's
song.
like, "That's an actual song." I was like, "Yeah, I know that. That's in the song too."
It's in the books, and it's a traditional song. It's an old song.
She was looking to find like something on iTunes so she could download it and keep it forever.
Horror punk band Harley Poe does a extended cover of it too.
Jessica, when you hear this,
band Harley Poe, her song, it's good.
So, do we have anything we need to promote, Mike?
Why are you just pointing at me? I mean, there's the whole 5th annual costume karaoke party at Lido's Tavern on October 25th with prizes, including cash prizes for best costumes and karaoke and photo booth and fog and lights and all kinds of spooky goodness.
The host of Marianne's Macabre Review, will be a
costume judge.
Awesome.
Get ready.
That's what, a Friday night?
Flip your
Friday
scenes
night.
and look at all the stuff.
Awesome.
Friday before Halloween.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
All right. I am soon to be off the network. I just want to thank It's All Been Done Presents for allowing me to get my start on the network. It's super awesome for helping me out and all that stuff. But I'm also excited to see where this will take us. See what we can do from now on. We're going to be working on some new stuff, so get ready. Alrighty. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye. Woo.